Does Xactimate include a waste factor on its felt paper in the components? The short answer is no. We're going to use an example of a 20 square roof, or we might say 2,000 square feet. We're going to look at a couple different situations here. So this is the felt paper that we're talking about. It's just a 15-pound felt paper. This math is going to work no matter what type of felt paper we're using, but 15 pounds is the most common. These white lines on the top and bottom is where the felt paper would need to overlap. Now, these rolls are only so long, so eventually when you get to a portion of the roof, the roll is going to run out, and you're going to have to overlap. According to different instructions, you're going to need to overlap those by 4 inches. And then those sections of overlap, those, we call them vertical seams, need to be 6 feet apart minimum. So here you can see how the felt overlaps. So we just simply do a quick Google search. How much does a roll of 15-pound felt cover? 432 square feet is the actual square footage. But if you take into account those 2-inch overlaps on the whole roll, your actual coverage is only 400 square feet. So that's our true coverage. That doesn't account for any of those vertical seams, those inlaps that we need to do. Also, what it does not account for are different manufacturers' requirements. For instance, if it's a CertainTeed felt paper, they say that you have to apply the overlayment 6 inches over your hips and ridges. So that looks like this. You'd actually run your felt paper over 6 inches this way, and then on the other side you'd run it 6 inches over that way. So that right there is going to add, for 6 inches on each side is 1 square foot. You would need extra for every 1 linear feet of hip if it was CertainTeed. Now that same rule is also going to apply to Owens Corning and GAF, but Owens Corning even requires that it overlaps the ridges and valleys 6 inches, assuming there's not ridge vents. And then anywhere the roof meets a vertical surface, that felt paper must be carried at least 4 inches up the surface. Now we're going to estimate this at 6 because we want to be at least 4. So those 2 extra inches, we just want to make sure that we're never short in case it does fall or whatever. So by looking at all of that, if we were to simply use this calculator, so we're going to use this underlayment waste calculator. Our actual square footage of the whole roof at 0% waste would be 2,000 square feet. And we're going to take that number and divide it by 400, so 2,000 square feet divided by 400 is 5. Now if you remember, every time we have an inlap, in this case we have 5 rolls, we're going to have 5 inlaps. It might be more like 8, but we're just going to say 5. We're going to overlap those by a minimum of 4 inches. Now, we're going to do 6 inches just because we want to make sure that we never do 4 and it somehow accidentally becomes 3. So we just do 6. But that's okay, it kind of balances out because technically you're probably going to have like 8 seams. So the math will balance itself out if we just do 5. So 5 inseams. Now if we take each one of those is 6 inches, the sheets are 3 feet tall, so you're going to have 1.5 square feet for every inlap. In this case, we're going to have 5 inlaps, which is going to be 7.5 square feet. Now let's not forget about our ridges, our valleys, and our hips. If you remember in the picture, every linear foot is going to add 1 square foot of waste. So in this instance, we'll have 95 linear feet of ridges, 102 linear feet of valleys, and 47 linear feet of hips. Now if we have, let's say, 50 feet of ridge vents, we're going to make sure we subtract this so it would only say like 45 linear feet. In this case, we're going to assume this house has no ridge vents. So we're going to take all of our measurements. So we would take 95 plus 102 plus 47, which will come up to 244. So we'll say 244 square feet, because here this isn't going to apply. So 244 square feet. Now, for every linear foot of vertical wall intersecting roof, we're going to go up 6 inches, or half a foot. So we would simply do that as well. Let's say we have 42 linear feet of vertical wall. You're going to need 21 additional square feet there. So if we were to add all of these together, and just to keep our math simple, we're going to assume this 344 square feet is correct. We have 2,000 was our original square footage of the roof, plus the 7.5 square feet for the vertical seams, plus 344 square feet for our ridges, valleys, and hips, plus 21 square feet for our vertical walls, which brings the total of square foot needed to 2393.5. So if each roll is 400 square feet, all we would need to do is take that amount and divide it by 400 square feet, which means we would need 5.98 rolls. However, again, looking in Xactimate, doing 20 square with 0% waste, or 2,000 square feet with 0% waste, is only 5. We need to do whatever it takes to get this up to 5.98. Well, thanks to our calculator, we already know this number to be 2393.5, or we could say 23.94. So if we go back into Xactimate and put 23.94, then we go back to our components and check. We're at 5.98. That's the actual square footage that is needed for the felt paper. Therefore, it is very conclusive to say that Xactimate does not allow waste in their felt paper.